Live by Night, the movie review. Live by Night with Ben Affleck. Live by Night, Trinidad's review.
Do you think that we got where we are by letting some inbreds muscle us?
If that's who you think we are, you're making a fatal miscalculation. We're clerks, and bankers, and police officers, and we even got a judge. And if you're dumb enough to fight us, I'm gonna rain bloody hellfire down on you and all you love.
So you're threatening me with people who are more powerful than you?
Exactly.
So what am I talking to you for?
Aloha! This is Trinidad, your island man, giving you the best movie reviews here on the entire island of Oahu. Yes, Trinidad, your island man, giving you my review of Live by Night. Now, Zoe Saldana and Ben Affleck starred in this movie, and let me just tell you this. It was a very interesting movie. They did a lot of interesting things in it. It covered a lot of ground, moves all the way from Boston down to Tampa Bay, Florida, and then finally into Miami. And let me just say that the trailers for this movie did not do it any justice at all. I mean, the trailers show kind of a gritty gangster movie set in the 20s. So you're thinking, you know, you see Zoe Saldana, you see Ben Affleck, you think, oh, this is going to be like a Bonnie and Clyde kind of movie. You know, it's going to be, you know, you see that he's a bank robber, doesn't want to be a gangster, kind of looks like he's going to get involved with the gangsters, or at least they're threatening him, and, you know, stuff ensues from there. And, well, that does kind of happen. But, you know, I think the trailers did this movie very badly and did it a great disservice. Now, as you saw from the trailer and from my basic description there, that's what this movie sounds like it's going to be. I'm sorry about the wind here. There's a bit of wind. We're kind of having a lot of wind here on Oahu. They said 50 to 60 mile gusts throughout the day. But I'll go through with this review because I just got out of Live by Night. And remember our rating scale, Shaka thumbs up, it's good to see, I recommend it. Shaka thumbs down, it's bad to see, I don't recommend it, or it's junk. And well, I have to say, Shaka thumbs up for this movie, I do recommend it. Now that being said, like I was saying previously, the trailers do this movie no justice at all. You think that you're going to go see a particular movie, maybe an action gangster movie, but it doesn't turn into that at all. It's definitely more of a slow burn. So I think that although the box office return for this movie was not very high, I think it will find a following on Netflix. The best example, I haven't seen a lot of gangster movies. I'm not really into gangster movies, but I was interested in this, and as I sat through it and the slow burn that it was, you know, I think that's probably what turned a lot of people off after seeing the trailer, and especially Ben Affleck coming from Batman, the accountant. You're thinking, oh, this is going to be a hard-hitting action, you know, maybe like The Town, Boston, gangs going at it in the 20s. No, it's not. You know, they talk about Prohibition, so you think, oh, well, maybe Al Capone. You know, we always get the Chicago side of that. Maybe now we're going to get the Boston side of it. No. it is set in the 20s. It is set during Prohibition, and it does involve, actually, since it is Boston, the Irish and the Italian mob at that time, both struggling for power, pretty much on the eastern side of the United States. And, which is kind of I'm not very familiar with it because I'm not, all into the gangster movies. But you always hear about the Italian mob and a little bit about the Irish mob, especially on the East Coast and such. This is a very interesting movie. Like I said, a slow burn. It follows Ben Affleck's character all the way from where he's basically an outlaw, bank robber, heist kind of person, to where he finally, out of revenge, he joins the Italian mafia, being an Irishman, and he does so for revenge to go against the big Irish gangster. And once he does that, then he becomes kind of a mob boss in his own. But he's always second fiddle to the big, higher Italian mob boss. And thus, this is where he moves from Boston down to Florida, essentially, because of the rum alcohol trade. Down there, you find that the Cubans, who Zoe Saldana plays, a major one behind the rum business, and he becomes involved with her as he's trying to get, their business to help out, against the Prohibition business. And there are a lot of, maybe not a lot, but there are some action scenes. There are definitely some gunfights. Definitely, people getting mob hit. But it's more of a workings of how does a man come to a town that he's not familiar with, establish his position for the gang that he represents, and steals it away from, at the time, the Irish gangs, or the Irish mob at that time. And essentially, Ben Affleck does so beautifully. And so it's more of an internal, who do we pay off? Who do we threaten? The right people, and you think, okay, maybe this is going to be a big struggle against, the Italian and Irish mob. Actually, that is put away pretty quickly. And after that, it moves directly into, it covers topics of the KKK because, some of the Cubans are, I'm just going to say they're black. And the KKK doesn't like, them coming to that kind of power, that kind of richness, and people, Irishmen, white people, associating with them. So, the KKK from the South. So it's interesting how the Italian mob had to kind of muscle in on the KKK, kind of push them aside, as best they could, and continue along with their business, because that's what their interest is business. Or the KKK, it's their ideology, it's their extremism. These guys just want money, and they're a hindrance to them making their money. So, they get taken out like any other gang. So I found that an interesting twist to the show, an interesting twist to the movie. That's something, I've never heard of and never looked at, in gang war, but it makes sense. I mean, that the KKK, a powerful Southern group, is going to come in conflict with another group that's moving in on their turf. And so in that aspect, it was very interesting how they dealt with that issue. And then it moves right along into, the moral side and religious values of some, Southern conservatives, as Ben Affleck's character sees that Prohibition, he sees the future. He knows Prohibition can't last forever. And sure enough, as it ends, he tries to put in steps to, maybe start like a legalized casino and gambling. Again, definitely not what the trailers had kind of talked about. Definitely not what the trailers had shown you. They showed you little glimpses, but only the most interesting parts, perhaps. And let me just say, you know, the scenery there in Florida is beautiful. You get some shots of the Everglades. You get some shots of, you know, Miami in the early 20s. Beautiful sunsets, beaches. It's quite lovely, and I highly recommend this movie. I know it's pretty much on the outs in theaters now. It's been out for quite some time, at least around the new year. So definitely do yourself a favor. If you're interested in a flick that's going to make you think, maybe on a little bit higher you know, level than, you know, your regular action flick, especially of the kind that we've seen so far in January, do yourself a favor and watch this movie. It has all the beats to it, and it is an intriguing film. Just, you know, prepare yourself for a slow burn with this movie, and that's where I think the trailers did it the great disservice. So again, I find it, shock a thumbs up. I do recommend it.